Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Yvonne, and for today's video I'm gonna be doing a how I edit my photos using Lightroom. A few months back I did one using the Teza app, and if you don't know what that is, it's another photo editing app that you do have to pay for. And for the Lightroom app that I'm going to be using today, you don't have to pay for it, it's free to download. So I decided, I know I'm gonna make one where you can edit your apps. You can edit your pictures and not have to like pay, you know, to download the app or whatever, because not everybody wants to do that. But that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and start recording my screen. And I did take some pictures just for this video. Okay, so I started recording my screen, and just like in the last video, I'm gonna take my photos first into Facetune and then just kind of touch up some of the pictures. I'm gonna be doing I think a selfie, just so we can see kind of like what I do when it comes to selfies. So when I do selfies or just any picture, I always take it into Facetune and I either soften up the skin a little bit or whiten up, like, you know, the walls, or something that's like really yellow, I'll like whiten it up a bit, and then I'll add more like details like around the eyes or any jewelry, and then I'll also mess with like the brightness and the color of the picture in there. And then before I take it into either the Teza app or the Lightroom app, in this case it'll be the Lightroom app. And so I'm gonna just zoom in, I'm gonna just retouch a little bit, smooth around my eyes a little, and I always like to take it down to like either 50 or 30, nothing too crazy. I also don't want my face to look like really fake. I just want to soften up with some of those like little wrinkles I have, you know, because I'm getting old, sadly. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of detail around the eyes. That just kind of makes them stand out a little bit more. Same with like the jewelry, I like to add a little bit, and I always like to keep it at 50%, because then when you all the way to 100, it just makes it look weird. So I want it to be a little tiny bit noticeable, but not too noticeable to the point where like it looks fake, if you know what I mean. And I also like to take it sometimes behind, like on the baskets, just a little bit more detail that might be lost like when you take the picture or whatever, and a little bit on the leaves, and that's it. And then I'll go into the edit portion of the Facetune app, and I'll leave on the brightness, and I'll just go to 25. That is my magic number. And then I'll go to color and I'll do 15. So I always do, for brightness I always do 25, and then for color I always do 15, so sometimes a little bit less depending on how the picture looks. So that's how I'll leave it, just like that. I mean, you can see the difference, not that at the same time I don't look completely different. So I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to open up the Lightroom app. And then you can like upgrade it if you want to get like more tools, but I just used the free version. I know the desktop version has a lot more tools, but I mean, for the photo, for what I need it for, this is more than fine. Okay, so I'm going to import the picture from my photo roll. When I do my thumbnails for YouTube, I always use Lightroom to edit my pictures, either to like touch up the brightness, add like a minimal preset, or and when I upload my photos for Instagram, I use the Teza app. Okay, so for Lightroom, there are a lot of presets out there that you can buy. I've bought some off of Etsy. There's also some like bloggers out there, some YouTubers that also make their, not YouTubers, well, like, yeah, bloggers and stuff that make their presets, and you can also find some like on YouTube and Pinterest. I've seen some. So there's a lot of places that you can get your presets from, and I do have a few that I've made, and I just give them random names. And there's some that I have bought in, and some I did get for free. So this is a pack that I bought that's like the nudes, and it just kind of gives it like a warm bronzy glow. And all the presets, you can edit them just to fit your photos and your style. They don't always look the same in every single photo, so you always have to tweak them a bit just so they can look good. But yeah, there's tons of presets out there that you can use, you can buy. But for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to be using any presets. I'm going to just be messing with the settings. So I'm going to start off with the lighting. And for exposure, always either take it all the way up or all the way down just to see how it looks. And since for Instagram, I always make it a little bit dark. I like that kind of gloomy feel to photos. So I'm going to bring down the exposure just a tiny bit, nothing too crazy. And the contrast, I always like do the same, either take it all the way up and down just to so I can see how it looks. I think I might just bring it down a little bit to like -5. Oh, and then for highlight, oh my goodness, I can't scroll down. Is that what I had it at? Okay. And for highlights, since I am making the photo look a little dark, I'm gonna just leave it maybe like a 10, -10. Oh, it's -11, but I tried. Okay, shadows. Shadows, I think I'm gonna do like a negative. Actually, no, I'll just do like a 5. And then whites, I'll do the same thing, a -10. And then for blacks, I'll bring it down just a tiny bit so some of the things can have detail. But it makes my hair look faded. I think for blacks, I'll just leave it. So that's how it looks before. It looks a lot brighter, and then now it's just a tiny bit darker. I haven't really lost any of the color in like my face or my clothes. So now I'm gonna go into the color. I'm not really gonna mess with like the reds or the oranges yet. I'm just gonna mess with the temperature. You can either make your photo look warmer or cooler. I think I'm gonna make it a tiny bit warm and just, I can never get it to like, there we go. Oh my god, I'm gonna make it a 5, whatever. Tint, you can make your photo look more on the pinker side, green, yellow. I'm gonna leave it at a 0. And for the vibrance, it just makes your colors like more vibrant, makes them stand out more. And I'm gonna just give it maybe like a -2. Saturation, kind of same thing. It just makes your photos look either really, really warm or really dull, like faded. Saturation, I always lower the saturation in all my photos. I'm just gonna give it maybe like a 4 or a 3. Nothing too crazy. So that's what my photo is looking like. It's a little gloomier, a little darker. Doesn't look too crazy. And then maybe I could bring down the exposure a tiny bit more. Maybe like a 45. And then effects, you can always add texture, but if I put up the texture, it like emphasizes on those things I don't want it to bring out. And then if you soften it, you can really like soften up a lot of things. So for texture, I always do 0 on texture. Same with clarity, I always leave it at a 0. Dehaze, I always leave those at a 0. And then for grain, I like to add just a small amount of grain into my photos. I think I'm gonna do a 10. You can't really notice it, but if you were to zoom in, you can't notice it. So maybe add a little bit more. You can also change the size and the roughness. Like if I go all the way up and then you zoom in, you can see it. So if I bring it down maybe to like a 25, like there's still some, but not a lot. And then for details, you can sharpen the picture up so that like it doesn't look as blurry. I'm just gonna sharpen it up a little bit. Noise reduction, I'm gonna leave that as a 0 because I'm not 100% sure what that is. Same with color noise reduction, I'm just gonna leave it as is. I'm gonna go back into the light and then bring down the highlights a little bit more, like a 40. So I noticed if I bring it down all the way, like the light on my cheek is really just gone, and then it makes me look weird. So I'm gonna bring it down to like 25. I am looking a little darker now. And then contrast, I'm gonna leave it the same. So the whites, I'll just bring it down a little bit more to make it down to let's do 25. Okay. So what I do, I go in first, do a few adjustments, and then I'll go back in and then change a few more things until I really get to where I really like the photo. Right now I'm at a point where I'm pretty happy with it. I did some changes and it doesn't look too crazy. It looks more natural. It just looks like I just turned down the exposure, like just made it not so bright, if that makes sense, compared to how it was before. Obviously this is completely different than what I do for my Instagram photos. This is more like what I would do for like maybe my thumbnail. Just kind of tweak with the settings a bit and kind of work with the photo type, try to make it look either a little bit brighter, a little bit more darker, but without like changing so much of like the colors. So I'm pretty happy with how it looks. So that's how I edit some of my pictures for my thumbnails. Usually for thumbnails, depending on how I take the picture, I'll put up the brightness a little bit more, or in this case the exposure a little bit more, just so the picture can stand out a bit, the thumbnail can stand out a bit, and maybe it'll catch your eye and you'll click on the video. And then I'll just export it to my camera roll. And then I'm also gonna save this editing as like its own preset. So I'm just gonna go up to like where the little 3 dots are at the top, and I'm just gonna create preset, and I'm just gonna name it YouTube. I'm gonna call it YouTube because I made this while I was making a YouTube video. I'm very creative with names. And so I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. It almost gives me like those like that golden light kind of vibe, sort of, if that makes sense. But I mean, I really like it, so I think I already saved it. And so that's it, and I'm gonna stop recording. So that was everything for this video. I tried not to make this video really long. I know last time it was a little bit too long because I talked too much, and this time I just kind of wanted to show you guys how I just edited using Lightroom. I mean, you can always pause it, you can always go back, you can always rewatch it if you need to. But those are just some of the simple things that I do using Lightroom when it comes to editing some of my pictures, especially for thumbnails. Like I said, I mostly use Lightroom for my thumbnails, and for Instagram I use the Tezza app, 2 completely different apps, but they're both really great. I know a lot of people use the Lightroom app for like Instagram and everything, and they completely love it. I like to use 2 different things, but the Lightroom app is free. You can upgrade to more things, but even with the free version, you get a lot of things and you can do a lot of things. You can also get like presets, like I said before, but I mean, that's totally up to you. But you can also create your own, which is also pretty cool because you can play with it and find your editing style. So with that being said, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for finally hitting 100 subscribers. It did feel like it was an eternity, but I mean, I'm so grateful for every single one of you. And please don't forget to like this video, and also please don't forget to subscribe. I would love for you to join my little YouTube familia, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!